The night shift. Marcus had been working as a janitor at Riverside Elementary for 3 months when he first heard the children laughing. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and he was mopping the third-floor hallway when the sound drifted up from the darkness below. High-pitched giggles, echoing through the empty corridors. Marcus stopped, his mop dripping dirty water onto the freshly cleaned tiles. "Hello?" he called out, his voice swallowed by the vast silence of the building. The laughter stopped immediately. Marcus wiped his hands on his gray uniform and listened. The building settled around him with its usual creaks and groans, but there was nothing else. He glanced at his watch. The elementary school had been empty for hours, locked tight as a drum. He'd checked every door himself. "Just the pipes," he muttered, returning to his work. Old building, old pipes. But Marcus knew what he'd heard, and pipes didn't sound like children playing. He'd taken the night shift at Riverside after losing his day job at the warehouse. The pay was decent, and the work was solitary. Just him, his cart full of supplies, and 6 hours to clean a 3-story building. His supervisor, a weathered woman named Carol, had warned him during training. "Don't go into the art room on the 2nd floor after midnight," she'd said, not meeting his eyes. "Just don't. Clean it during your first rounds." "Why not?" Marcus had asked. Carol had simply shaken her head. 3 janitors quit in the last year. All of them worked nights. "I'm just telling you what I wish someone had told them." Marcus had laughed it off then. Now, standing in the dark hallway with the memory of those phantom giggles in his ears, Carol's warning felt less like superstition and more like survival advice. He finished the 3rd floor without incident and made his way down to the 2nd. The art room waited at the end of the east wing, its door slightly ajar despite Marcus being certain he'd closed it earlier. A strip of moonlight cut through the darkness, illuminating construction paper cutouts taped to the walls, childish drawings of houses, families, and something else. Shadowy figures with too many limbs. Marcus checked his watch. 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes to midnight. He could clean the art room now, or he could come back later. The rational part of his brain screamed to follow Carol's advice, but another part, the part that had bills to pay and couldn't afford to let fear dictate his job performance, pushed him forward. "It's just a room," he said aloud, surprised by the tremor in his voice. He pushed the door open fully. The art room sprawled before him. Tables covered with abandoned projects, paint-stained smocks hanging on hooks like deflated bodies. The smell hit him immediately, tempera paint mixed with something else. Something organic and wrong, like meat left too long in the sun. Marcus flipped the light switch. Nothing happened. "Great," he breathed, pulling his flashlight from his belt. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the usual classroom chaos. But something was different. The drawings on the wall seemed to shift in the flashlight's glow, the shadowy figures growing larger, more detailed. Marcus stepped closer to one, squinting at the crayon marks. The figure had no face, just a blank over where features should be. But it had hands, long, spindly hands with too many fingers, and those hands were reaching toward a small stick figure labeled M.E. in a child's unsteady script. "Jesus," Marcus whispered. That's when he heard it. A sound like fingernails dragging across construction paper, slow and deliberate. It came from the supply closet at the back of the room. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. "Who's there? This is a restricted building. I'm calling the police." The scratching stopped. In the sudden silence, Marcus could hear his own ragged breathing. He should leave. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around and walk away. Instead, he moved toward the closet, his flashlight beam shaking. The closet door was old wood, painted so many times the surface was lumpy and uneven. A child's handprint in red paint decorated the bottom panel, but the paint looked wet, glistening in the flashlight beam. Marcus reached for the doorknob, his hand trembling. The metal was ice cold, so cold it burned his palm. He jerked back with a hiss of pain. Behind him, something moved. He spun around, flashlight slicing through the darkness. The drawings on the walls had changed. Every single one now showed the faceless figure, and in each drawing, those impossibly long hands reached forward, fingers splayed wide, grasping. "This isn't real," Marcus said, backing toward the exit. "This isn't real." A child voice whispered from everywhere and nowhere at once, "Come play with us, Mr. Marcus." His blood turned to ice. How did they know his name? The temperature in the room plummeted. Marcus's breath came out in white clouds. The drawings began to peel away from the walls, not falling but floating, drifting toward him like autumn leaves. Except leaves didn't whisper. These did. Each piece of paper rustled with voices, children's voices, begging, pleading, crying. "Help us. We can't leave. It won't let us go. It's so cold here." Marcus stumbled backward, his shoulder hitting the doorframe. The supply closet door swung open with a drawn-out creak. Darkness spilled out, but it wasn't the normal darkness of an unlit space. This was something else, thick and viscous, like smoke made solid. It rolled across the floor toward him, and where it touched, the linoleum tiles cracked with the sound of breaking ice. From within that darkness, something moved. Marcus saw it then, the thing from the drawings. Tall and impossibly thin, its body a twisted mockery of human form. Its blank face turned toward him, and though it had no eyes, Marcus felt it seeing him, studying him, hungering. Those long fingers reached out, and the children's voices rose to a chorus of screams. Marcus ran. He burst through the doorway and sprinted down the hallway, his flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Behind him, he heard the thing coming. Footsteps that sounded wrong, too many joints bending in too many directions. The screaming followed, echoing off the walls, a symphony of terror from mouths that had been silent for too long. He reached the stairwell and took the steps 3 at a time, nearly falling in his panic. Second floor, first floor, ground floor. The exit was just ahead, the red glow of the emergency sign a beacon of hope. The footsteps behind him accelerated. Marcus hit the crash bar and exploded into the parking lot. The cool October air shocked his lungs. He kept running, not stopping until he reached his car, his hand shaking so badly it took 3 tries to get the key in the lock. Inside the car, he locked the doors and looked back at the building. A light was on in the second-floor art room, the light that hadn't worked minutes before. In the window, he could see shadows moving, small shadows, children's shadows, and one tall, impossibly thin shadow that stood among them, watching him. Marcus started the engine and drove away, tires squealing on the asphalt. He never came back. The next morning, he called Carol and quit. She didn't ask why, just sighed with the exhaustion of someone who'd heard it all before. "That makes 4 this year," she said quietly. "What is that thing?" Marcus asked, his voice hoarse from screaming. "What happened to those kids?" Carol was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with old sorrow. "Fire. 1987. Art room fire during after-school program. 12 children and 1 teacher. Door jammed shut. They couldn't get out." Marcus felt sick. "And the thing?" "The teacher," Carol whispered. "That's what people say. Anyway, Miss Holloway. She tried to save them, but she couldn't. Smoke got her first. When they found the bodies, Hayes was different, burned, but still standing at the door, arms stretched out like she was trying to reach the children, like she was still trying to save them." "She's not trying to save anyone anymore," Marcus said. "No," Carol agreed. "Now she just collects, trying to fill her classroom again. Forever." Marcus hung up and stared at his hands. Red marks in the shape of fingers circled his right wrist, burns from where the thing had almost grabbed him in those final seconds before he reached the door. He hadn't even noticed it touching him. He never worked as a janitor again. But sometimes, Late at night, Marcus still hears the children laughing. And beneath their laughter, he hears something else, the sound of footsteps in an empty hallway, searching, always searching, for one more student to add to an eternal, terrible class.